Live button. We'll be live here in a second.
Let's
We're
go live.
now.
Let's do it live.
We're live now. Come on in, everybody. We see you out there. We know you're there. Come on in.
So
Chat's
early,
open. Oh, sorry.
So
Rose.
early, I don't know if I see anything. Much.
I got coffee. I got coffee. We got comics.
Oh, yeah.
It's all good. Fafhrd and Gray Mouser today, folks.
What have you been reading lately, Randy? Anything? Or you been busy?
I've been crazy busy.
Yeah.
Reading stuff here and there, you know.
Yeah.
I got
like
a little stack
stuff,
up.
or
Mostly old stuff.
Yeah.
Well, let me run over to my Facebook and make sure they're public over there.
Good morning, everyone. It is
Come on
early
in.
where I'm at. At least it's 5 for you.
Yeah. Oh, it's 4 for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh man, glad you're here though.
It's good to be here. Although I don't have my coffee, but that's all right. I have something to drink here.
Okay.
If I ration it out.
Right.
So you call this a graphic novel here?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to run the opening here and we'll get right into it.
Okay.
Holy shit. That is the craziest thing I have ever seen. And I'm Dennis Quaid, and Dennis Quaid has seen some shit.
What was that? This is not a charade. We need total concentration. Now, once again, this time, with theory.
There we are.
That didn't wake you up.
Come on in, folks. It's Comics by Night. I'm your host, Randy Zimmerman, editor-in-chief of Arrow Comics. To see some of my stuff, you can go over to arrowcomics.store. You'll find a large variety of books, some of which I've had a part of, writing or drawing or both. And hope you go over there and take a look. There's quite a few great pieces of work over there. Also joining me, go ahead.
I am Rex, and I am here for the food.
Here for the food.
Yeah, that's a line actually from a Muppet movie. And I am here for the food. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Randy.
You're fine. Fafhrd and Gray Mouser. Fritz Lieber's Fafhrd, adapted by Howard Chaykin, Mike Mignola, and inked by Al Williamson.
What do you think about Chaykin, Randy?
Chaykin's good.
Yeah. He was the understudy of Gil Kane.
Was he? Yeah. I've seen him in a couple of shows and at a couple of shows. And
yeah.
He'd be a little grumpy.
Yeah. If you were the understudy of Gil Kane, you'd probably be a little grumpy too.
Could be. Yeah. I like his a lot of his comic statements up on Facebook. I follow him up on there. And I think his best work is Monarch Starstalker that he wrote and drew himself. That was an issue of Marvel Premiere.
Yeah.
And
was that just a one and done, like a one shot? Yeah.
Yeah, it just did the character enough to have it sit there for a few years and let the more modern Marvel people just abuse the heck out of him. So it's pretty
kind of reminds me of Jim Starlin's sort of sci-fi stuff.
Yeah.
He does, you know.
Very
it's
much
all
like
it's all Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers, isn't it? To a certain degree.
Yeah, it's space opera. Yeah.
Guy with a pistol. Pew pew pew.
Yeah.
Well, here's Hellboy artist
Yep.
Mike Mignola.
Fafhrd.
Who published this, Randy?
Fun stuff here. This is Epic. A division
Epic,
of Marvel.
which is really Marvel, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Epic was like their high end.
Yeah, the more unusual stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that was outside their Marvel continuity of the universe.
Right.
Of course, they were always doing that. They always had a sideline, Randy. Star Comics for kids, and they had
everybody, both Marvel and DC have tried little side imprints.
Yeah.
At one point or another.
Yeah. You almost have to, don't you?
New Universe Ultimates now, you know.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of little side imprints.
Companies they bought out.
Yeah, that too.
You know, and then they might want to use those outside of their normal continuity.
Yeah. Especially DC. I mean, they've got a catalog of IPs that it's just incredibly long, and they only want to concentrate on the top dozen.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I like the back cover here with the map in the content page. Nice design.
Met In Lankhmar. Little tighter than usual, Mignola.
Yeah.
Just call him Mike. We'll just call him Mike.
Okay.
Anyway, his art has always fascinated me because of his use of silhouettes. It's black spaces. Some of it's just totally ingenious.
Some of it hits, and some of it, you know, he's one of these quirky ones that's kind of up and down, you know, with some people. And I guess some I like, some I, you know, don't. But that's with anything. You're not going to like everything.
Little sword fight.
You like the coloring?
I'm not crazy about the palette, but I understand it. You know, a lot of earth tones and browns and oranges.
Now, what genre is this? Where would you classify this? What genre?
Sorcery.
What?
Absolutely. Sword and sorcery.
Okay. Sword and sorcery.
Fafhrd is your Viking type muscle-bound fighter, mercenary, and Gray Mouser is a skinny little wayfish thief. And the two of them get involved in different adventures together. It's nice. It's incidental.
Cheesecake.
Yes.
A lot of panels, but it seems to be pretty sparse on the dialogue, you know, letting the pictures tell the story.
Story moves pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice clip.
Well, you have exterior shots, interior shots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Silhouettes are nice.
Storytelling here is good too. So
I remember when he was drawing Alpha Flight.
Oh yeah.
And other things. Hellboy. He had a career before Hellboy came along.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got Saturday Night Fever there.
Yeah.
Staying on. It's doing the John Travolta stance.
Yeah, he's over exaggerated.
You know he's bragging about one of his adventures, right, to the ladies.
Yeah.
And I could drink anybody under the table.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. It's really a subdued palette, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Works for this kind of stuff, not necessarily for superheroes though.
Yeah.
Depending upon the character.
What kind of palette do you like with superheroes? And that's saying a lot because I've seen your full. That's pretty.
I'm very much a primaries.
Yeah.
Kind of person. Yeah.
You know what Image Comics brought to it, I thought was the digital coloring, was the lens flare and the blurred image.
Yeah.
You know, that had never been done in comics before that I know, and probably best done digitally.
They were just getting to that point with the coloring, the photoshopping and that Malibu and Malibu hadn't even sprung up yet. So they were still
how limited the coloring used to be. Like with Marie Severinsen at EC Comics, she kind of expanded on coloring in comics, and but they had a very limited printer's palette, didn't they?
A set of numbers, combination that they could trust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was the big problem back then, was getting it to hold color, because it ran the way it was printed with large drum rollers. And
well, now they began, you know, with the direct market in the 80s to really expand on the palette before the digital stuff ever came in the early 90s.
Yeah, so remember that Marvel's plastic plate period with all the horrible garish color? It ran for a couple of years, I think.
The big treasure editions kind of went out after the late 80s, but then they brought in the graphic novels.
Yeah.
Which was kind of nice, because you'd have like Jim Starlin do one, and then Walt Simonson or Ron Wilson or Mike Mignola. They'd all do one project, you know. It seemed like. And
well, they started that up because of the European albums that were being kicked out. Asterisk and Valerian.
Well, that's not really
that format.
New, is it?
No.
I mean,
what albums like that?
Like the over there, they're like hardback albums, right?
Oh yeah, they kick out 3 or 4 different formats depending upon the country.
Yeah. Do you have any foreign comics?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's so much great stuff. I have just about every Tintin.
Yeah.
Her Gay Story. A lot of Lucky Luke, which is a cartoon cowboy character. Not a lot of Asterisk, but some Italian stuff I've got. And was it Daniel Torres, which I think was out of Belgium, if I'm not mistaken. Did Rocco Vargas. Love his stuff.
You're probably familiar with Gasoline Alley, right? The daily.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I got to meet him in 85 and 86.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I was at a show in New York, and one of my biggest regrets at conventions, I was back to back to Lee Falk, and I never turned around and introduced myself or shook his hand.
Wow. For those that don't know who Lou Falk is,
Lee Falk is the creator of Mandrake and the Phantom.
Yeah. Which is big down Australia. I mean, I've got the Fru. Have you seen the Fru? I mean, they've got like over 1,400 issues or more of the Phantom. Been running since the early 40s.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge in Australia.
It's just, it's amazing how certain things take off in certain countries, you know?
Right. Yep.
Even in music, you know, or it may be big over in England, doesn't make it over here, and vice versa. I was really amazed that the Phantom was big like that down there in Australia, and had been running continuously since the 40s. Because, you know, I kind of look at that. You had the Dell 4 colors that ran, you know, over 1,200 issues. And you've had Action Comics now hit 1,000, but I think they interrupted their numbering. I really don't count that. And one of the things that really made me furious is when in the 83 when they canceled Adventure Comics. I thought, how stupid. You just celebrated 5. This is one of your oldest running titles. It's an anthology. It can be anything. And you cancel it.
Yeah. Yep.
And then later bring it up. Oh, we'll continue the numbering. No, to me, it's dead at that point, and they did something innovative toward the end of it. The last 2 years, it was done in digest form.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But
Plastic Man by Hilary Barta was in that. Yeah. Great stuff. Starman by Ditko.
Well, if you have an anthology, do like the reimagining like they did with the Avengers, put some of your most popular characters in the book.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to cancel it or reformat it. I mean, it would have been more exciting if they could have made a big deal out of it. Now coming back to regular format, from after being in digest form.
Right. They were running Supergirl in it for the longest time.
Yeah. I mean, Legion of Superheroes and Superboy. And I mean, all the characters, Aquaman had a good run. You like Jim Aparo.
Yeah.
The Spectre.
Spectre had a run.
Yeah. And they cancel it. That's
kills me. Well,
with the way they had no respect for how long it's been going and the hard work the artists and writers have put into it over decades time. And we'll just cancel it. It's like, but it's ridiculous to me. I know we're getting off the subject, but it's ridiculous.
Wasn't their first or last stupid mistake.
Oh no. I mean, I like to see continual numbering. I mean, it may, they get into this number 1 issue syndrome,
mm-hmm.
And it's, they even did that with Action Comics, and then they want to have it both ways and celebrate the 1,000th issue.
Yeah.
Same thing with Detective. It's like,
it's the 10th of the run, but it's the 1,000th issue. Yeah.
I know. It's, I think readers, does that tick you off? I mean, I kind of like a continuous run.
I had a few years there that I was pretty bitter, but I just got resolved to the fact that all my characters died at Crisis and Heroes Reborn.
Yeah.
And anything else that have come out since then have been just soulless imitations. So that's the way I feel about it. But very, very little really good, well done superhero stuff out there at the moment. So finding the good stuff is really difficult, especially in the modern age.
Well, everybody feels, seems like everyone wants the latest flavor when it comes to, the new Godzilla movie out or Crow or whatever. And it's like, man, there's so much undiscovered stuff out there. If you do a deep dive,
just crazy.
And you appreciate different pacings for different stories, for different time periods. I think a lot of people have, pacing, and that's a good subject right there. How does a comic book pace? I mean, we've seen that in movies. The pacing, people won't watch like Magnificent Seven because it's too slow. But has some of the greatest actors of all time in it. But the pacing, it's not like today's pacing. It doesn't fly by. I think probably for comics, it's different somewhat.
Because you're using frozen. You're literally freezing moments in time.
Little vignettes, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to do that and know how to move a story along.
Mm-hmm.
Shane, Chris is in the house.
Come back, Shane.
Yeah.
Mother Chris loves you.
Victim TG says, good morning, Chris.
Yeah. That's Tree Goblin.
Yeah. Hey, Tree. Hi, Tree. Hey.
He's in the UK. Nikki's in Florida.
Nikki.
Man, we had some tornado and bad weather come through here, although it kind of skirted us. It didn't, where I'm at, but I know Florida, Georgia.
Yeah.
A bunch of states got it.
Well, these jet streams.
Yeah.
As our they're saying as our magnetic field weakens, weather's going to get really wonky.
Do you think he drew those wham, clank, slam sound effects in?
Oh yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, didn't leave that up to the letterer, did he?
No.
Yeah, that panel you got your thumb on there almost looks like a panel from Gotham and Gaslight, whatever.
Yeah, Gotham by Gaslight. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first one that they actually animated, that DC animated, was that Elseworld story.
Yeah. It was a good story. I was always hoping they would do Metropolis by Gaslight.
Are you a big Sherlock Holmes fan? I bet you are.
Not huge, but yeah, I like the character a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's been told, I mean, had so many different people play him, from Christopher Lee, Basil Rathbone. I really like the TV version of the 50s.
Yeah.
They're intelligent stories, Good villain. Are you, Randy, do you think that your heroes are just about as interesting as the villain?
It all depends upon the hero, because some of these guys are writing types, and some of these guys are writing characters.
Yeah.
And if you're inventing the type, like if you're Philip Marlowe and you're writing a Sam Spade or that kind of story, that's one thing. But the characters that I really like are the quirky ones. Columbo. I like the just the oddball. Right now, Will Tennant on ABC, I'm liking a lot. That's a good character study. That's been fun to watch.
Did one of our main characters lose a leg?
No, he's got a bum leg.
He's got a
he's
bum
holding
leg.
It back here.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He's got it held back. There he is.
No need to amputate.
No.
Very, very subdued palette on this thing.
Mm-hmm. So such incredible style, though, and it does.
Yeah, I mean, we covered Craig P. Russell. I'm actually seeing Craig P. Russell kind of flavor in this.
Yeah, there's a lot of that here.
Yeah,
especially in the inking. Mighty Geek in the house is what's new, everyone.
Now, didn't he?
Yeah.
Didn't he? Oh, that was Craig P. Russell. He did. For Pacific Comics, he did Eldrick. I thought we were going to look at that at some point.
Yeah.
Eldrick.
Yep.
Yeah. I always want to put the D in there. Eldrick.
Yeah.
Eldrick.
Yeah. Elric. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know Elric existed until I read the Conan comic.
Yeah.
Yeah. There they crossed.
That's where he was introduced, apparently, in Marvel.
Yeah. There's a little exposition.
I don't know if I've ever asked you, are you primarily a Marvel or DC guy? I mean, growing up when you were a kid, or?
I jump back and forth depending upon who was where and what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I always was a alternative person. There was a while there, anything alternative that was coming out, I was right on top of.
Well, were you a place where you could get it? I mean, it was really the 80s before I ever really saw a lot of that alternative stuff.
There were a couple of bookstores that I knew that I went to, head shops where you can get the more underground material. Ran into George Metzger's Moondog, like that. Just love that book.
Like
Just
Zap and things like that. Undergrounds,
that too. Yeah.
But
there were some undergrounds were starting to get more alternative comic, like, you know. And then here in Michigan, the Detroit area was really big on alternative comics. Power Comics come out of here, and
I was going to mention Power Comics. Yeah,
Kevin Ciambita, who went on to do he made his own gaming company. He started doing A+ comics here, where a lot of us got to know each other.
That was out of Detroit, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Now, are you aware of Texas Trio, I guess?
No.
Early alternative stuff that kind of I love Texas Trio stuff.
The Power Comics stuff was fun. Cobalt Blue and that. And then out of that, Gustovich sprung up.
Yeah. He did Justice Machine.
Yeah, Justice Machine. So I wanted to, when I saw Justice Machine and realized that he was local, he was going to be at a show in Grand Rapids, and I drove all the way over there. It's about a 2-hour drive from where I'm at in order to meet him, and he never showed up.
Oh,
he was never. It was like a little mall con. He didn't appear there. But while I was there, I ran into another guy out of Chicago, Dennis Messinger, and he was doing Just Imagine Comics and Stories. And he told me to send him something that he'd print it. And
hey, Han.
That's really how I got started.
Well, so you were in a more active area.
Yeah.
More urban area.
One of when the direct market started up, Bud was on the West Coast, Phil was on the East Coast. And in the middle, there was a distributor that sprung up called Big Rapids Distribution.
Mm-hmm.
And I would get, when I had my comic, I opened a comic shop in the back of a pinball arcade. And I knew that those guys existed because I visited a bookstore that got comics in direct.
Uh-huh.
And so I got the name and their phone number. And I had comics sent to me direct there for, probably a good year at my little store inside the arcade.
Mm-hmm.
And we had this how long it was, how long ago it was. Cerebus 6, I remember coming through, and Fantasy Quarterly #1 come in. So I remember ordering that, thinking that it would be big. I wish I had kept a couple copies.
You had AC Comics, was Paragon. You had Power Comics. You had who you just mentioned. Who did you just
AC
mention?
started AC's out of Florida.
Cerebus.
So there was some of that stuff we didn't see. Cerebus was out of Windsor. That's right across the river from Detroit.
And you had ElfQuest.
Yep.
Early days.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a few people that were before the and then of course all the really independent people like the underground, and then the people you just never heard of because they were probably local comics, like you were saying, A+, and it never got out of the region unless you ordered it. And if they even had it, Mile High Comics, which the mail order days,
or you ran into them at a show. Yeah.
I guarantee you, I have comics in my collection that I would not have if it weren't for the internet.
Yeah.
They're so rare, as far as print numbers.
Right.
And a lot of people don't list that independent stuff because it's like, this dollar bin, 50-cent quarter book. They're not showing any respect whatsoever.
No. There's a whole period there between the inception of the direct market and the start of Image that there was a huge alternative independent movement. A lot of folks doing black and white comics, wanting to be the next Turtles.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Turtles had the gray toning, the Zipatone, or however they did it,
Yeah, the dual shade board. Yeah.
Bone says, I remember Cerebus, and alternative comics were where you turned to get away from superhero comics, Mighty Geek says.
Star Reach with
Star
Mike
Reach, yeah.
Fredericks sprung out of that. Also Quack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bud Plant was printing First Kingdom at that point. It's magazine size. Real pretty book.
Yeah. And then we exploded into the 80s, which, in the early 80s, comics were in a funk.
Yeah.
They were in a low ebb place, and then I guess we just powered on through, maybe it was the popularity of the Turtles and things like that.
Right. Well, the big thing is that once you started that independent movement, some folks just didn't go away, like Antarctic, Caliber, as are two big examples. Dark Horse. Well, Dark Horse, they sprung up in '85, same time that Arrow did.
Yeah,
and they've just stayed around, stayed persistent.
Well, First Comics is still around. Mike Barron told me First Comics, and they just came out with something. I noticed a Zen book that looks fabulous, by the way. But I didn't realize that First was still around.
They must have just restarted, just like Gold Key.
No, Mike said that they've been in business. They just sporadically come out with something here or there,
Well, yeah, that's kind of like
and look at Dale. Dale's still around, but they do like coloring books and puzzle books and things like that. Dale Publishing. Just not the comic line.
Yeah.
And Archie has been around forever.
The thing that's kept Archie alive, though, are those digests in the grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
They sell a lot more than they want people to think that they do.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of grandparents come in and go, "Here, get off that screen, read this book." Yeah.
Well, a few years back, they hit 600 issues, and I bought that just because it was the 600th issue, and I happened to see it. I actually bought 2 copies, gave one to a friend.
They sure have done a number of things with those characters over the years.
Yep. Started in Pep Comics, which started out superhero.
Yeah. Shield.
Now we're getting to all silhouette.
Yeah.
There's a real art to that. It's almost like German Expressionism or some of the silent films.
Right.
Like Nosferatu with all the shadows against the wall.
Same here. Very subdued. To it.
The background color kind of keeps it all uniform, huh? From getting too chaotic.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. It's, because you got a lot going on. And even though it's got some breathing room with the bottom panels on both pages. I like that.
And the coloring here could really screw this up bad. But using flat colors like that, I think it's just great.
If you were all over the place with it, it's like it would be sensory overload. Nothing would match, but I like the uniformity. It's nighttime. It helps keep it all together from falling apart because there's, with Mignola, he really does spice. You know what I'm saying? He really relies on spice more than a lot of artists. I mean, I guess they all do, but he really, because he infers, he implies, he doesn't always show. Kind of like we were talking about Eisner or Alex Toth or, some other artists.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cuts out what's not needed. You could have gone in and done the whole brick pattern here if you wanted to. And no, silhouette, boom, done.
Yeah, ink's fairly cheap.
Yeah. And on this, you can't see Williamson in it. Al Williamson inked this. That's all Mignola.
Wow. No, you really can't, can you? That's, you know, Buscema, John Buscema is a very strong artist. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But you put Ernie Chan on him, and it's Buscema and Ernie Chan.
Mm-hmm.
Inkers can overshadow an artist. It's very rare that, like, I would say Al Williamson's kind of, I'm not really that versed in, you know, if I saw his stuff, but I know of a lot of what he's done. But yeah, I mean, this is a strong performance by the penciler to subdue even a great inker like Al.
Well, I think Al looked at the pages and said, I'll ink these. These look like fun.
Mm-hmm.
And just sat there and followed his lines and indications, and boom, boom, boom. There you go.
Yeah. Made it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always like his, like, misty, you know, he does that.
Yeah.
Obscuring of the feet
mm-hmm.
often, or he goes into cross hatching.
Yeah.
Why draw a foot? Just to indicate it.
Well, if you don't have to.
If you don't have to, right? I mean,
yeah.
See, here we go with a brown palette for the background. A little orange, a little blue there, but
yeah. Is it Bones said, I didn't get into Valiant Comics too much. I have most of the number ones, though. Yeah.
Well, that's good, especially the pre-Unity stuff, because I think those are going to be up in price because
everything up to Unity was phenomenal, writing wise.
Yeah, and low print. I mean, when Harbinger #1 came out, that was one of the bigger print runs of 50,000. 50,000 is nothing in the grand scheme of things. If something gets popular.
Yeah.
Thing is, I don't know if Harbinger will ever get popular again. But, you know, these TV shows and movies can push stuff, or limited series. Netflix deal.
Yeah, and you never know. You never know.
Well, look at Cyberfrog. Cyberfrog was one of the most obscure, unknown characters of all.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a cash bonanza. Now that it's been revived.
Yeah.
Ooga. The alarm's going off. Place is on fire.
Yep.
A little warmer palette here.
Mm-hmm.
Look how that head stands out.
This one here?
Right there.
Yeah.
Just because of the coloring.
Mm-hmm.
Pops out a little bit, doesn't it? Even though it's fairly flat.
Little touch of red to it. Just off of the reflection of the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You couldn't get such subtleties from back in the day, Randy.
No.
You can forget that. So, you know, now
They get a graduated tone if they knew what they were doing. I mean, Severance did a lot of that. So she got some great effects out for the abilities of the printer. Yet on the other hand, they'd been doing comics for so many years, they knew what they couldn't do anyway. At the time Marvel started, they still made their coloring mistakes like they did with Hulk.
Yeah,
starting him out gray.
I think that's an urban myth, Randy. I think what it was is the main guy came back to Stan and goes, "Why isn't he green?" Because they wanted it like the Glenn Strange Frankenstein Aurora figure.
Yeah.
And they made him gray. So they said, change it. I don't think that was a printing error. That the gray.
That's what I had heard. They couldn't maintain.
Well, yeah, that's been around forever, but that's a legend. I don't think that's right. I think they patterned the Hulk. Look how Frankenstein-ish he looks in the first issues.
Yeah.
They absolutely wanted to bank on the popularity of the Glenn Strange Frankenstein. That was a huge hit when it came out.
The comic, you mean, with the nose?
No, the Aurora kit. The Aurora.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Bartender and Gunsmoke.
Yeah.
Lynn Strange. I think he made a pretty frightening looking Frankenstein, actually.
Yeah.
Huge guy. Huge actor. I like the spiders here in the webbing. Another way to fracture the panel up.
Mm-hmm.
And then the webbing right there in front of the villain, the white instead of black lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It turned
It's
out
a
real
nice,
good.
subtle change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, coloring's really changed over the years, and colorists don't get very much credit.
No. Good ones are hard to find too. So.
I and Glenn are going to try and do a book. We'll see if we get permission to do because so we'd have to get permission from DC and the estate. I think we can do it on Jack Adler. He was eventually became vice president of production over at DC, but he was a colorist and brought in the gray toning that was in like the early Sea Devils and GI Combats.
Oh yeah.
Photographer. He brought partial photo covers or photo covers into comics.
Sure.
Yeah, quite an innovator.
Yeah.
I'm told he worked on some of the plates or something, for Action Comics #1 even. So he goes way back, at least 1952 that I know of with DC. He hired Bernie Wrightson and like Mike Kaluta and
those guys,
all that kind of 60s generation, new and up and coming. Neil Adams. I think Neil said, "I don't want anyone to color my stuff except Jack." He's supposed to be doing an incantation there.
Yeah.
That you're not supposed to be able to read. Yeah.
Right.
Mumbo jumbo, pseudoscience, mysticism. Yeah. They're having fun with those webs, aren't they?
Yeah.
Breaking up the panels and everything.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of how much influence you think Craig Russell had on Mike Mignola?
I would imagine it was the same influences more than having one influence off the other.
Okay. What
were their influence, like those, like Parrish and Booth and those really
European,
classical, more tender illustrators.
Yeah.
Tender.
That's a good word. Tender. So sensitive.
And I just mean that as to me, it's soft. It has almost like a feminine leaning to it at times. Pete Craig Russell's work like that, some of it can be incredibly beautiful and just super gorgeous.
Well, he has a wispy thin line. If I was to describe him, a wispy thin line.
Where with like Kaluta, he's got a really hardcore Art Deco retro look to his work. That's why I just loved his shadow material. Was perfect for him. And the Carson of Venus material he did while at DC was just amazing. And a lot of that stuff is really pretty. Kaluta doesn't do enough comic work.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I liked his stuff early on around 73 in the Shadow for DC.
Yeah.
I think he was pretty well suited for that. I had to wonder when Titans came on board, like Neil Adams, but more to the point, Jim Steranko, how it shook up what everybody else was doing. Kind of like Kirby had done previously.
Yeah.
And some others.
Well, Steranko and Adams at the pretty much at the same time were like really playing with layouts and composition,
right?
What you could actually do on the page, especially Steranko. I think he went in and he only had a very short career, only did a handful of books. You know, and he had a long run on his longest run was Nick Fury, and that only lasted maybe 2 years.
Yeah, and he worked a little on Captain America, but I mean, yeah, I mean he did very little, and then he did like the history, 2 books on the history.
Yeah,
but I mean, other than that, I mean, brief, and you can see the Kirby influence, but it was just the design skills that he brought into that.
I just saw the first version of his Steranko's History of Comics at a show, wrapped in plastic. Still look good. It's probably high fine, low mint. Guy wanted $200 for it.
Wow. Yeah, I've got issue 2 here, but I don't have a 1, unfortunately. I think at one time I had both. Facebook user says, I'm still working on my digital coloring skills. Legit can help set the mood and tone of the story.
Yeah, you almost have to do a little bit of studying in color theory.
Yeah. Oh, if you're going to deal with, you definitely have to have color theory. Just look at the highlight of the first panel there on his face that, brings that into, to your attention. Very cinematic.
Yeah.
Now, these are characters that go way back, right, into the early 80s? Or is that, or...
Yeah, if you consider that way back, probably mid 80s.
Well, yeah, I mean, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't consider that way back. My theory is, Randy, I consider a thing back issue at the point of like just getting to back issue status at 40.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can consider that fairly new. That's just the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean things couldn't wildly go up in that time period, It's usually first appearances, though.
Yeah, key books.
Mm-hmm. How big a thing do you think environment plays in this book? Quite a bit, huh?
Mood, more than anything. Yeah, mood and environment. Is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely a tone to it that's different, even from the adult comics. There's just Mignola in general puts it in a different world. It's got his
you might tell me that
own individual style
thousands of times, but I'd almost like to see him attempt a story that's all told in silhouette. Now, you might have a little, face of the peeking out or whatever, but pretty much all told in silhouette. I bet he could do it.
I bet if he hasn't done it already, he's gotten really close.
If he hasn't done it thousands of times already, yeah. He mixes it, but I bet if you put him to the challenge, almost like the G.I. Joe episode book that didn't have any dialogue, tell the story without dialogue.
Yeah,
he could probably do it all in silhouette. He probably wouldn't want to because there's certain scenes he might want to depict, like that close up of that face there, or like that ending scene that looks very Star Wars to me.
Here,
yeah,
really, yeah.
Heroic,
like
we survived the tail.
Right.
We're not riding off in the sunset, but we are kind of looking at it, whatever.
Too many ghosts.
Al Williamson did a lot of Star Wars comics, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah. He did the comic strip for quite a few years.
Mm-hmm.
After Russ Manning.
To me, Randy, the 80s were the time where I got to know the names of a lot of these creators that I'd
Yeah.
been enjoying for years.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was kind of a time where they put the spotlight on the creators of the inkers, the colorists for the very first time, the writers.
Yeah, they tried to stop and stall that real hard once the Image popped up.
Well, that was one thing. I mean, I read as a kid and I was still young and, but I mean, graduated 40 years ago in 84, but so I'm 18 at that point. But at the advent of the direct market, but the comics kind of grew up with me. We got the anti-hero for the first time, like Dark Knight and the direct market and things, and it seemed like that the hobby was progressing with me.
Yeah. Yep.
Where you would get the graphic novels of the 80s and in the 70s it was the big Treasury editions or some of the Walden book little novelettes or the digest, like I mentioned before. But the 80s, it was like, wow, and I was fortunate enough to go up and to the largest convention, in 85 and 86 up in Chicago at that point. And that would be considered an ultra small convention by today's standards.
The old Marriott in Chicago. Had it's where Perez and Wolfman got settled on the shape of the Titans Tower, because they had one of the towers in the hotel shaped as a T.
Chicago Comic-Con?
Yeah,
there?
Chicago Comic-Con. I was 80, probably 85, 86, 87.
85, 86. I met Perez in 86, I think, there.
Yeah.
And I think Marv Wolfman might have been there both years. I
was
know
that the same? Well, was that the same show that Stan Lee was at?
Yes, for the 25th. See, those were two great years. 85 was the 50th for DC, and 86 was 25th for Marvel. Yeah, I got to meet Stan Lee that year, and Ramita Sr. was there both years. First, looking at the old program of my friend that went with me, because mine's destroyed now, but had one of the creators of Superman was going to be there, but he didn't show. That would have been great.
Siegel, probably. At that point, he was still active and doing stuff.
Yeah. But I think he got sick or something. He didn't come.
Yeah. Yeah, the one that Stan Lee was at, that's the first time I met George Perez, because I went to get some stuff signed by Stan and had a copy of Tales from the Anniverse I was going to give to him. So we had just printed issue number 3, and Perez
was got some Tales of the Anniverse.
Yeah. George was sitting next to Stan, and I went to give Stan a copy of Tales from the Anniverse, and George jumped out of his chair and went, "You're Randy Zimmerman. You do Tales from the Anniverse. Your stuff is great." I was like,
that's great.
Just bowled over.
Yeah. That's a good feeling, isn't it?
Yeah. It was just the rest of the day I was in just floating, having a hard time fitting my head through a door. Just crazy. And Stan was like looking at George like, what?
You're right. Yeah.
He's all excited, shaking my hand. I'm like, yeah, I like your stuff too, George. Jeez. Yeah. It's crazy.
Tales of the Anniverse.
Issue 2, The Circle Curse and the Howling Tower. Yeah, I'm getting that stuff together this year.
Cool.
All the individual stories, all the character sheets that we did. Sue's back up and doing painting again, which is great. And we're hoping to do a Anniverse Omnibus and a Varsel's Vixens collection.
So were you up there in Chicago at that same one I was at?
Oh, yeah.
You were there? Wow.
Yeah.
We were there.
I did the Chicago cons, once they started at the Marriott. I was there every year. I was always in the second room, right around the corner. They kept putting me in the same spot. Got to sit next to Yvonne Craig one year.
Okay, so you got on some of the panels.
That was great. I did a panel here and there, but not not on a
Okay.
regular basis.
Okay. Yeah, I know that's where. I mean, one year there was Mike Zeck, and he was kind of a short guy. Bill Sienkiewicz, Frank Miller was there.
Yeah,
Steve
Yeah.
Rude.
Yep. Well, Steve's from that area. He's from the Chicago area. Capital City Comics come out of Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's who I dealt with the direct market. Was Capital City.
Well, they printed comics for a very short period of time. Some really nice stuff too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The early Nexus stuff, the early Whisper stuff, wasn't it? Whisper.
I think maybe one or two issues.
Yeah,
it
not
moved
very
over
many.
to First pretty quick. Yeah.
They weren't. Yeah, they weren't. Let's see. There was like 3 titles: Nexus, Whisper, and
Badger.
something else. Captain. Oh, Badger. Yeah.
Yep.
I really like Pacific Comics, though. They were only around about 3 years. So
yeah, and it seemed like they were around a lot longer because they made quite a mark.
Yeah, I mean,
they were really trailblazers.
Was that
alternative?
Was that some of that reprint stuff? Was that reprint? Like some of it, like Wrightson, Frankenstein, or
I don't think they did Frankenstein. I think they collected. No, that was DC collected a bunch of.
Well, they did the macabre type stuff or whatever that Wrightson did. It would say Bernie Wrightson's, whatever the tale was. That was the interesting thing. They would give credit to the creator, the artist on the on the cover. It would say Bernie Wrightson's book, Bernie Wrightson's whatever. Not just him, but other creators. I thought that was great.
Yeah, Captain Victory come out of there.
Yeah,
Star Slayer,
Captain Victory. Yeah.
Yep, Mike Grell's Star Slayer come out of there.
Yep. I mean, I love Pacific Comics because they were so varied,
Yeah. And Pacific kind of spawned Eclipse. They were in the same neighborhood. They started
Well,
up.
I still have a promo, one of those little promo posters that you'd put up of Elric.
Yeah.
By P. Craig Russell. That was Pacific Comics.
Yeah. Yep. Nice stuff.
And, comics got away from the newsprint, with the direct market. Aztec Ace on Baxter paper, DNA Agents on Mondo paper. They would make a big deal about what, part of the printing process that people didn't even think about, at the time.
Yep.
This certain paper quality. I mean, I don't think we've seen that since Dale Comics. Dale would have the little thing. Dale Comics are good for your children type thing. And Pine Comics had it. Sometimes on the cover, buy your comic, buy your kid this comic because it's wholesome. It won't warp the brain. They won't go psychotic and kill you in the dark.
Juvenile delinquents.
Yeah. We won't have to have any more book burnings.
Right.
Is that blood on his lips? What's the red there at the bottom panel there? Oh, that's his mustache. That's kind of weird. Yeah. See how sparse, how he uses space in the long shots?
Yeah, that's it. The lady in the tower.
Yeah.
Is the antagonist here.
Well, that's what I was saying about Mignola and use of space. And then he shows very little. Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of imagery within these boxes. Even that bottom panel there.
Looks like it. It's
little indications,
Yep.
He's a master at that.
Yeah.
If he were to get paid by the line, he would starve to death.
Probably. Very Mobius type feel here with the line work.
Yeah. Do you think that he studied? Oh, I like the snow scenes and see the people in the bottom panel. They just kind of drift away. Yeah. He really does make it easy on himself, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's style. Okay. And really it is. It's, you know, like Alex Toth, it's just very, you know, what can I cut? What can be on the cutting room floor?
Yeah. Yeah, but you have to know how to draw it before you know how not to draw it.
You do. Exactly.
That's a big thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all part of the style here. He's able to cut back and do very simplistic things. It's part of his, you know, not just his style, but it fits the mood of the piece he's working on. That's why he does Hellboy, because he's good at that shadow type material.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Someone mentioned in Valiant Comics, this is kind of reminiscent or a precursor to like what was the one title they had with the two guys? One thin,
Archer,
Archer
Armstrong and Archer. Yeah.
Yeah, Archer and Armstrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Very Mongolian Chinese looking dude there.
Yeah. They travel around.
Was that your first book, Randy? Tales of the, and was that
that was the first book I had printed? Yeah, Arrow Comics. Yeah. Tales from the Universe.
Oh, that was Arrow. Okay.
Oh yeah. They put us out there because they didn't. Ralph and Stu had us go first so that they could learn from us. Says we're not going to put our stuff out until we know what we're doing, so we'll put your stuff out first. Tales from the Universe was the first Arrow comic, and then Realm, and then Dead World.
And what year was that? 85, 86?
Yep. 85, 86, 87.
Okay.
Pardon me.
I probably got some of your stuff in my collection. I've had one collection destroyed back in 97 by fire, and you know, all that stuff, even the obscure stuff like that, is replaceable. It's the original art.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I come on as Arrow's art director in 85 with Dead World. I was the voice of King Zombie in the letters pages.
Yeah, sort of zombie type book, right? Dead World.
Yeah. It was the first, really, because Ralph and Stu loved George Romero, Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
What a great way. We need to do a gore book like this. Yeah. So
yeah.
That's how Dead World come about.
It was kind of popular at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was popular enough for the retailers to get mad at how gory the covers were. So,
yeah.
They went through, and I remember that trip was out to Chicago, by the way. We were driving out to a show from Ypsilanti, and we were talking about that problem, and finally decided, well, we'll just print two covers, one for the retailers that want to display the book with a tame subject matter on it, and then another one that'll be gory. So that's how we settled. After Dead World 2 come out, especially, had a zombie with his guts falling out. Got a lot of retailer response off of that. Moms are walking in freaking out at the gore. It's like, oh, okay.
Had to wrap it up in brown paper like Playboy.
Well, we didn't want it. That was an extra expense. That was too expensive.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
We checked into that. We're like, no.
Oh, you did?
That would have been, that would have been a great gimmick. And it's like, there's no way we could do every individual issue like that. So we gave the retailers a choice of two covers.
What was Howard Chaykin's book that he came out in the late 80s and polybagged it in Black
Kiss.
Black Kiss, yeah.
Yep.
And wasn't it nudity that he had to bag it up?
Yeah, it was a good cross between hardcore adult books and, alternative comics.
Yeah.
He had kicked out a book that was really a space opera book that was really adult. It was more Flesh Gordon than Star Wars.
Yeah.
That Cody Starbuck, I think it was called. I got to see. I haven't seen a copy of that in a long time. I got to see if I have one in my collection, because I remember that being really adult. It was reading it at the bookstore I was working at, and it was like, holy crap.
Yeah. If you go back and read it now, you'd probably think it's time though.
Yeah, I would probably. Yeah,
did you read his Black Flag?
Some of it. Yeah. Oh, the wife read it. The wife's a huge Chaykin fan. So.
Yeah, I'm not a big Chaykin fan. I love Gil Kane though. His master that he studied under. They couldn't be. I'm sure there's similarities, but there's got to be a lot of differences. Marvel. I mean, if Jack Kirby helped Marvel and you know, not just him, but others stepping up and then kind of getting it going on it running in the 60s, I'd say Gil Kane. I mean, those great Bronze Age covers that he did for Marvel. There's a Thawne Gore that's just, the design of it is just awesome. I mean, he almost
a lot of that stuff he did is iconic. You know, you look at that entire era, that all the framed in artwork.
He knew how to get the most out of a frame. You know, I mean, you know, on that one I'm talking about, he's got the swords going around where it keeps your eyes centered right in the middle, sort of a circle. But he has the damsel in distress almost hanging off the cover, all the way down in the bottom right-hand corner. It's amazing. Just the design that he puts into some of those Bronze Age covers.
Yeah.
I really think he was, and he did so many of them. I can only think of maybe Al Milgrom that might have rivaled him on the number of covers that he got to do.
Wasn't Milgrom mostly inking though? I don't remember Milgrom doing any pencil work.
Yeah, and especially in the early 80s, he did a lot more than you think. I bumped into a bunch of his stuff. Yeah, you'd be surprised.
No, I know he did a lot of stuff, but
yeah,
I thought he was
I looked at him for a long time as a just a inker, like you're saying. Don't underestimate him. He penciled a lot, penciled and inked, and he did some very iconic key issues or covers for Marvel during that time period.
All right. The Howling Tower.
Oh,
yeah, pretty much.
See how sparse that is?
Yeah.
All of it. I mean, he's got a very cinematic way of looking, but it's very illustrative as well.
Yeah. Thought I heard somebody banging. That's weird. Anyway.
It's just that you didn't take your medication yet.
Is that what it is?
Maybe.
I got coffee here. So
I finally looked at my medication. I was like, oh, snap, I haven't taken it in 3 days. No wonder I feel good.
There you are.
So I took my medication. Don't want to be off it too much.
Nice shot here. Very simplistic, but great. Very Mobius. Thin line.
Very simplistic. I mean,
don't need much just to drive it home.
Yeah. Sometimes I think he goes, especially with some of the superhero stuff, it's so simplistic it falls apart. Maybe it needs, maybe it needs a good colorist to hold it together. I don't know. Like in this case, with this series, because absolutely the colorist here is a vital part to these books.
Yeah.
To draw this all together, to set a tone, to hold it on the page. Because this isn't reach out and grab you stuff. I think they did a lot. I think they did a pretty good job with the dialogue.
Yeah.
You don't want a bunch of word balloons, and probably those last two panels is about as much as we've seen. But still, it's a conversation over a campfire.
Yeah, they've gotten a little wordy here and there, but
yeah, they have, but it's not overly laden, I don't think.
Yep. It's a lot of open space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't help but, and maybe it's just because we went through that other one, but see a bunch of P. Craig Russell in his stuff.
Yeah.
Similar vibe to it.
A lot of similar influences, I'm sure. Every once in a while, you'll see some Mobius pop out here.
Right.
The way he uses his line work here, that's Mobius all the way there.
Yeah. And I guess I just haven't seen a lot of Mobius. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've seen enough to know,
Mobius is amazing because he's almost two individual people. One that does the real far out fantasy stuff and one that does the real grounded Western work. And it's very much two different styles. And it's fascinating to look at. Yeah. His Blueberry material is just amazing. Why they haven't, I know they tried to do a movie that they called Blueberry, but it wasn't really the material that Mobius had done. They need to adapt Mobius, one of the first epic reprint books of Blueberry that they did was, I think it was called Chihuahua Pearl. And that was a movie. That book was a movie. And it needs to be filmed. It's really amazing. Just crazy stuff. We'll have to look at that soon. We'll do some Western stuff. The Vulture.
Oh, yeah. That Western stuff's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, just awesome.
We're slowly working towards it in Two-Fisted Tale. A lot of John Severn Western material. It's a lot of fun. Speaking of fun, it was quick and fun. Debris.
Looks like the monolith from 2001.
Almost, yeah. That's one of those high towers that keeps the monsters. Yeah. And the lettering here too could have been out here, could have been over here, but instead they planted it right in the middle where the tower was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that the sound effect goes behind it.
Yeah.
And his head there, it just it's there in the background, prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's good visual storytelling.
Yeah. Great panel. This is great too.
Mm-hmm. Have to get you on my channel, Randy, and talk some comics.
Yeah, anytime.
Talk some Arrow comics history and current projects and everything.
Yeah, I got an episode of Sunday Funnies that's archived at the Indie Comics Network where I got to interview Ralph and Stu. Got them on video before Ralph passed. Talking about early Arrow days and the different stuff that they remembered happened.
Yeah.
And,
well, you know what you said about George Perez, he knew who you were. They go to those conventions and it was more creator centric back then.
Oh yeah, much more.
And they were smaller and intimate, although they were thought to be large at the time. I'd never seen anything like it, But you look at San Diego Comic-Con today and it doesn't even compare. It looks like a closet. Yeah, we got comics. You want comics? Come back here. But, let me think of his name. Schultz. I mean, not Schultz. Schwartz. Julius Schwartz. Mm-hmm. He was there both years.
Yeah.
I'm told that he couldn't stand Stan Lee, so they probably kept their distance somewhat.
Yeah, kept them apart from each other.
Yeah, or were cordial, at least that year in '86. But
Yeah.
yeah, Steve Lytle was there, and he's gone now.
Oh yeah. Oh, a lot of guys were there
Yeah.
that aren't around anymore.
Dave Cockrum. I mean, just
Yeah.
and some of them like Mike Turner and Dave Stevens died so young.
Mm-hmm. Sure did.
Now,
Too young.
if I had any artist that's dead, draw your cover, I'd probably have Dave Stevens draw me something. It's just that cheesecake. It's just so wonderful. The Rocketeer stuff, I just loved it. Again, that was Pacific Comics with Steve Ditko, the Missing Man.
Yeah. Did that start Pacific or Eclipse? No, it was Pacific. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I can see the cover in my head.
And a lot of them went over to First Comics. I mean, did get converted over into different, or like you said, Capital City, start out with, and then
yeah.
It's
first was American Flag and Warp. I remember that.
Warp, yeah. And see, Warp went way back to the early 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, they even had a play about it or something.
E-Man, I think they picked up from Staten.
Yeah, I met Joe Staten in Memphis. What was neat is I got to meet Oslander, that was doing Grimjack at the time.
Sure, yeah.
Timothy Truman. And I got to talk to him down there, and I mentioned that we were going to be up in Chicago, and he said, "Oh, I'll be out there. I'll see you in 2 weeks."
Cool.
But really, down Memphis got a good time to. It was basically high and by up there in Chicago, but down in Memphis, I really got to pick Oslander's brain and talk to him for a while.
Oh, that's cool.
I got to meet Adam West at a Blockbuster Video. I talked to him for about 10 minutes over in Memphis. Yeah.
He come up here for American Heroes Con, which there was only one back in '85. And we all went out to Windsor to dinner. I remember that distinctly. It was back during his bitter period.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a happy camper.
Well, he's got one film in the Crittenden collection.
Yeah. Way Out West?
No. Although that may be it. I mean, that may be one. He may have more than one in the Crittenden collection.
Yeah.
It was Space, what was it? Robinson
Space Family, Mars no, what was that? Robinson Crusoe on Mars?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah. But he used to play in like TV shows and other things. And he did too. I mean, even after that. I saw a thing recently where he was in an episode of Emergency during the 70s.
Yeah. There's a great.
They had to rescue him because he was being pursued by a bear.
Yeah. There is a great documentary out about his life that is amazing because it covers his, I think, right up through his death.
Yeah.
And how he went from films and then television, and he was kind of blocked out of movies because he was doing TV, and then he got Batman, and then he was Batman, and it it drove him crazy. And there was so many years there that he was very bitter because the only jobs he could get was at car shows and comic shows.
Yeah.
Then they always wanted him to wear the costume, and it was like,
stereotyped. Yeah.
Then once he figured out that he couldn't take himself so seriously, his life like completely turned around.
Yeah.
It's very, very fascinating to see.
Like George Reeves in a way with Superman New Adventures Superman.
Yeah. And he didn't have that tragic of an ending. West. He was
right. He didn't commit suicide. Right.
He was on a good upswing on his career, and he's realizing that people appreciated and loved his work. Not just because he was Batman. And that he could be funny on what was it, Family Guy? I think it is. He was on. for a few years.
I never really.
I didn't either.
Caught him on that, but yeah, I mean, he absolutely did a lot of voice work for DC. Animated, and did a couple of Batman, reprised his role in Batman on the animated ones in a couple things with Burt Ward before he died.
Yep.
I'm glad he got a chance to do that.
Yeah, me too.
Good ink cap.
Oh, that's nice. Like that.
I think he could probably do Conan.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or Cole or something like that.
Wouldn't be surprised if he hasn't done some Howard work at one point or another. His style really lends itself to it, I think. That's why I like these books so much.
But don't you think something like this would drive Jack Kirby crazy? It's like, put something in that dead space,
Yeah, probably. For that reason, Kirby could do great barbarian stuff if he wanted to, but yeah, I see what you mean, though. Absolutely.
I'd like to see him take on a project like Dune and see what he could do with it.
Was it Sienkiewicz? Sienkiewicz did the Dune adaptation, didn't he?
Did he? Okay.
Sienkiewicz?
Probably, yeah.
I think that's who that was.
Oh, you mean that Neil Adams wannabe, and then he turned.
Yeah.
He turned artistic.
Yeah.
Although one of my greatest, when he was still in that Neil Adams phase, one of the Moon Knights.
Oh yeah.
Where they tell the story from the Hulk's perspective.
Okay.
And then at the end of it, where he meets Moon Knight, and then they start the story over where you tell it from Moon Knight's perspective, and he meets it, and then they resolve the story.
Mm-hmm.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Never read anything like it. Really stuck with me. That was like one of those prestige, reprints.
Yeah.
Huh. By then he was going all artistic,
Yeah. Yep.
Doing the new mutant stuff, doing the Moon Knight stuff.
Elektra. Sure.
Got to meet him. He's a short guy. He's up there in Chicago those couple years.
Yep. The only guy I see is comic display has got his name broken down phonetically and a big banner over top of his head.
And now that I think about it, you say you were up there. I think I listened to you. I was out in the audience. I think you were on a panel.
That's possible.
Or two.
Yeah.
I know Mike Barron and Steve Rude were on Mike was on 3.
That
panels.
was their neighborhood too. Yeah.
Yeah.
At that point, Capital City was printing Nexus and Badger, and they were big. Mararuz.
Well, that's the great thing about the internet, Randy. 40 years later, we can meet up again and reminisce.
Yeah. Yep. Had that with Roland.
You're Randy Zimmerman from Arrow Comics. Yeah. Oh, what I was going to say about that is that they were fans and they like comics too. They were up on the new stuff. That was the exciting thing about going up to Chicago. I went up there primarily for Golden Age stuff, original artwork, and some Ninja Turtle, anything Ninja Turtle, because I knew it was going to be a big hit.
Yeah.
And I would absolutely collect stuff like Arrow comics and things like that. Got to see Don Chin's Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters and the Troll Lords, all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
But and you think about, they had some wonderful Lady Phantoms up there.
Yeah.
On display, like $750 a pop. That was a lot of money back then.
Yep. Yep.
I bought a John Byrne page for $60 up there.
Yeah.
And you know what it was? You know what
Huh.
it was? The Avengers heads that they put up in the Ditko box.
Oh, really? That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. I bought a page of Champions for that was Byrne for $60 way back when. Had Hawkeye, Ghost Rider, Two Gun Kid on it. It's a great page. I ended up selling it a couple years ago. I still regret doing it.
We went to some auction. I think I bought for about $15. Might have even been $5. I know I brought back some Vince Coletta inked. Not sure who the original artist was. It might have been Vince Coletta. The ISIS book, the DC ISIS.
Yeah, Oskner, maybe Bob Oxner.
Yeah,
might have
but it
drawn
definitely
that.
had Coletta inks on it.
Kurt Schaffenberger did some of that work.
Yeah. $5 a page.
Yeah. Yep. Those were the days, huh?
I know. I never spent. I was buying Golden Age books for $50.
Yep.
In like very fine condition. And they were starting to dry up at that point.
Yeah.
I saw a big difference on what was offered in '85, and then I went back the next year, and they just didn't have the stuff that they had the year before, or the dealers just didn't bring it. Seemed like it was drying up at that point. Hey, Karen,
that was probably that was probably as Image was coming out.
No, we're talking mid '80s.
Yeah.
No, Image didn't come out to early '90s. What are you talking about?
No, I remember doing a Chicago show was Arrow Comics and going out at 4 a.m. and getting the Youngblood 1 signed because the Image boys were making a big deal that they had set up a tent and they weren't going to bed until they've signed everybody's book.
Okay, so now this is kind of like the very, very early. I mean, before Image really took out, decades before
Youngblood 1.
I mean, yeah,
Youngblood 1.
Yeah, I mean, I met Eric. I met him trying to sell his Eric Larson trying to sell the first Savage Dragon book for $2.
Yeah,
he was on the back table there in the room, and I took a look at it. It looked interesting. That's when he had two toes and and a small fin.
All right.
What was it? What was it?
Megaton.
Megaton. Yeah. It was his very first appearance, and I pass it up.
Yes. George Carlson went on to do Big Bang Comics. With that.
Oh, I love Big Bang Comics.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff's extremely, like 3,000 copies. Extremely low print rate.
So much fun to read.
Yeah. But now he did like Dr. Weird.
Yeah.
In the comics.
I think that was Starlin's character. Yeah.
He did Savage Dragon crossover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jim Starlin's early fanzine character. Yeah.
Yep.
I like that widening out of that last panel there.
Yeah.
I'm having John Byrne flashback here. Alpha Flight.
Yeah.
It's a snowstorm.
Yeah. Snow blind. Yep. Nice work, though.
Send that back to the printers. It didn't print.
Yeah. That was intentional. The aftermath.
Sure it was.
Yeah, it was an artistic choice.
Mm-hmm. All blacked out panel, just one dialogue balloon in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy framing on that one shot.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a pin up there.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. I never get tell with these guys.
Story ended right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The end. Yeah.
The end.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he contracted a disease and died.
With a horse skull. Sure. Folks, that was Fafhrd and the Gray Mouser. First 2 issues. Kicked out by Epic Comics way back in the golden age of 1991.
And how many of those did they do?
There was 4 total in the set, and then I think they collected it later. And that might have had 1 or 2 more stories in it.
Uh-huh.
But there's 2 more that are exactly like that. You know.
And what did that retail for back then?
That was a whopping $4.50.
$4.50. Wow.
$4.50. The old prestige format books. And even then, wow, that was expensive. Anyway.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, as fun as it was to have like Dark Knight, a decade earlier, man, they were expensive to collect, when they hit that retail market. It's like, man, you're killing my budget here, which is non-existent.
Yeah.
But, comics have always went up on me. I started with $0.25 but at the end of $0.25,
Yeah.
It was
I started just as they were switching to 15 cents.
I didn't realize what I was missing. I collected for a couple years, Randy, before I even saw an X-Men book. They never carried on any of the pharmacies or, spinner racks that I went to. At
that point, they were probably really close to done with the original line, I would imagine. What years was that?
Well, that was the John Byrne, Terry Austin years, like 70.
Oh, crap. No, those were all over the place.
Yeah, but I didn't see them till about 2 years collecting, which was probably 78, maybe 79.
I can tell you how I found the X-Men. I was a big Captain America fan, and they crossed over. They had Cyclops, Marvel Girl, Professor Xavier cross over into Captain America. And that's when I found this, that and the Captain America cartoon that was on Mondays.
Well, my first X-Men, and didn't even know it.
That's how I saw him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the early cartoons, they primed me, of course, Marvel did the 1966 cartoons, and of course there was the 67 Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four done by Hanna-Barbera. I mean, that primed me right there. But and it really wasn't till the 90s that some of that came out on VHS tape at like Blockbuster or places like that I was like, I saw that. I remember that I remembered it because it had been so long ago and I was so young. But I used to work Hercules. Doc Blaylock put a little Hercules clips, and you can watch all those on YouTube, and I did with the little centaur and everything.
Oh, the cartoon,
where he had the ring, superpowering.
Yep.
Yeah, and I totally forgot about him.
No, I remember those. Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah,
that had a big push on me when I was a kid.
Yeah, and
and Sinbad the sailor with the magic belt and the parrot. He pulled the belt and get extra strength.
Yeah,
used to go around yanking on our belts all the time,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was somebody who was up there in Chicago those 2 years, was Martin O'Day.
Marty. Yep.
He was a short guy. 86, he came up there with his wife. His wife was with him.
Yeah, he was all over there for quite a few years.
Oh, and the guy from American Splendor, he was up there both years.
Yep. Harvey Picard. He's out of Cleveland.
Boy, he was a character.
Yep.
Oh, and Larry Mahler was there with Tales of the Bean World.
Yeah.
He come up there with 5 little done on artboard things of Tales of the Bean World, and I'd already found it, and I bought all 5 of them. I think the most I paid for one of the larger ones was $6. Yeah. Some of them were like $3, $2. It was like, I'll take all of them.
There you go.
Wipe me down. Sadly, I lost all that stuff, but
Oh,
used to have Jim's. There we went somewhere else, and they had an auction or something. I bought a Jim Starlin DC Comics Presents page.
mm-hmm.
I bought a Aztec Ace because I liked Aztec Ace coming out of Eclipse Comic Gene Day.
Sure.
Page.
Oh, no, yeah, I know
beautiful.
what you mean. Yep.
And I bought one directly from Steve Lytle, and I had him give me a commission too. I at first asked George Perez, "Would you draw me a beast?" He says, "Oh, I don't do that anymore." But he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
In one of those Hawaiian shirts, you know.
Mm-hmm. He'd always take commissions in advance. He never liked drawing at shows.
Yeah.
So there was a while there he would make an announcement. I'm going to be at such and such a show. If you want a drawing, get in on the list now, and I'll have them with me when I'm at the show.
Yeah, but the first one that I ever went to, this guy had a hardback, blank artist,
Yeah, sketchbook.
and they were flipping through it, and he had I think it was a George Perez. Really, that's the only one. He was giving it to Ron Wilson to do something.
Oh,
Ron
okay.
Wilson was at that show.
Yeah,
that did Marvel 2-in-1s and all like that.
Super Boxers. Heck yeah.
Super Boxers graphic novel in the 80s, yeah. And he was just like, well, can I flip through this and look through? He wanted to see who was all in there. I think George Perez had maybe a Green Lantern drawn in there. There were some greats that had drawn in that book,
Yeah, we've gone through my sketchbook on Sunday Funnies, but there was a while there I took a large black sketchbook with me and had people throw sketches in that I really liked. And if it was somebody that I admired that I knew was, the comics history, I had them sign the inside covers. So I got quite a few people before they passed autograph, and got an autograph from Neil Adams before he started charging. So
yeah.
Great big too, Neil.
Well, that in '86, they had him up on a top floor there, one floor up, and the line went all the way down to the bottom, which we would consider that a small line by today's standards. But Stan Lee wasn't charging then. They just limited you to one. And this snarky kid who was with glasses, he was they limited you to one, and he had 6, and I was like, man, this sucker's gonna get away. He was standing in front of me. I took a She-Hulk #1 and had him sign it. Because
I seem to remember the limit being 3 because I had 3 Masterworks that he signed.
Okay, well, they told us 1, so I don't know.
Oh,
maybe that was a different year.
Maybe might have been the year after.
Believe me, I would have loved to have gotten him to sign 3 books.
Yeah, I got him on the first edition, issue of the X-Men, one of these FF, one of Spider-Man. It's got his autograph inside front cover.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's when I met Perez.
Well, he just didn't know what was going on in the comics, though, currently.
No,
he
didn't back then either.
Question.
Yep.
I think Tom DeFalco or maybe Roger
DeFalco was
standing behind him.
Yeah, DeFalco was at one of the shows. Yeah.
Probably DeFalco with him. Yeah. And I asked him, this is when Hank McCoy, my favorite character, the Beast, which was in the Avengers, drawn by George Perez. Really, George Perez is the one that got me into comics.
Okay.
Just his style, and I was always into groups. It seemed like Justice League or Avengers or When I saw the X-Men, it was like, this is, even though it was John Byrne artwork, it was like, this is weird. I don't know. It looked demonic to me. It just looked too strange. Oh. And but I eventually, it didn't take me long to appreciate what Byrne and Austin was doing, and I got hooked. But
yeah, I was buying the reprints, the X-Men reprints that they were kicking out.
Oh yeah,
reading those. The Werner Roth, I think it was, Drew did the majority of the artwork on that.
Yeah.
And had at 96, I think it was 93. I think they made the announcement that they were going to switch over to new material. And I remember getting Giant Size 1 and reading it through. And just my first copy of Giant Size X-Men 1 is literally in shreds.
Yeah.
When I ditched it, had to go buy another one like a year or so later, and was so mad. I had to pay $8 for the thing at a show.
I bet you're dancing now.
I've still got that copy, but the front 2 pages, the front cover and the first page are off their spine, because I still read it. I read it all the time.
Yeah.
I just absorbed that book.
Yeah.
That was one of the big books for me.
Well, that's something I admire about you. You know, you take these, like these originals here from the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Mouser. And you just, I could not do what you're doing, which is like just flip through them and handle them like that. I just couldn't. I never.
Well, I didn't. I don't buy to I don't buy to collect. I buy to read.
Right.
And these are reading copies. They're not anything that
I don't care. I just can't.
I'm not knocking the value down on these books by showing them to you.
I just can't get that familiar with my comics.
Yeah.
Randy, I've got a block. I could have a coverless. And even if it's a coverless, it's like, okay, let's I just can't do it. Like, I know there's no value, but there's so huge value to me. I respect the material. It's like,
believe me, I respect the material. That's why I'm showing this stuff off. I love it.
Yeah,
love this stuff.
I know you do. Yeah, I mean, I know John Longbox. He had like an Avengers #1.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and he was going through it and showing the ads and everything that was in there. And I was like, wow, that's an original he's flipping through. That's worth quite a bit, to just be on camera showing it,
Yeah. There's a couple of episodes of Sunday Funnies where we were going through oddball marvels.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I'm pulling up these comics and there's kids in the chat going, is that an actual comic book? Did Marvel really print this? It's like, yeah. Look at this great stuff. Weird World and some of the old Marvel premieres and the one-shot stuff that they've tried over and over again. Just some great stuff out there, folks.
Yeah. And if you ever think about opening up a comic shop ever again, you've got to have back issues. You can't run a comic shop without a good back issue selection.
I got nothing but deep respect for anybody out there retailing today, because it's got to be rough.
It's got to be rough. I mean, look at the pandemic. I'm really surprised the pandemic didn't kill more of the stores.
Yeah. Well, they were already, so many of these owners, so many of these retailers have been around for so long, though they've tasted all of the bad times that you can imagine.
Yeah.
And so they were, some of them were prepared and some of them got through by the skin of their teeth. Some of them didn't make it. But
all my friends, got a comic store there in Jackson, Tennessee, and they've been there over 30 years. That's they're going to be there. That's all she knows. She's I guess the wife of, I guess maybe they ran it together. He passed away a long time ago, and she just kept it going,
Yeah, we've got amazing bookstore up here. They've been around, I think, 35 or so years.
Yeah, and they've got a good back issue selection.
Oh yeah, huge.
Yeah, and she works it. When you buy something, she's got replacements somewhere in the back or underneath. That's the way to do it.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You got
nothing like a long time comic shop with a big back stock. Yeah. So I tell everybody, go to your local retailer and take a look, spend an hour or so and look for those boxes that are on the closest to the floor, hiding. You never know what type of great gems you're going to find in there. A lot of stuff, especially if your retailer's been around for a while, he might not even remember he or she has. So
right. Yeah.
Go in there and take a look. Some great stuff to be found. A lot of folks don't know, only know Mignola from Hellboy, but this is great stuff. Hellboy, maybe Cosmic Odyssey. There's a collected volume of this out as well, and it's just fun and great reading.
You mentioned Cerebus. I bought some Cerebus in the dollar bin.
At
my local comic book shop. I didn't even know they had like I think they had like 2 long boxes full of dollar comics, maybe 3. And I went through all of them, you know, and I pulled out a big stack of, you know, over $100 worth.
I love doing that at shows, because you never know what kind of reading copy you're going to get.
Yeah.
And of what. Yeah. I've picked
and
up
I'll
some
buy
pretty oddball
for,
stuff over the
like
years.
reading copy, you know, and I would even buy a wrinkled like cover or something back in the day, you know. I said, you know, there's going to come a day when they press these things. and they do now, you know. So you know, and it's like you know, if it doesn't have breakage of color, it really doesn't affect it, you know, if you can press that stuff out. But even if it's breakage, I don't care, you know. It's if it's a good read worth collecting. Look at that. I've never seen that except the other day when you showed it.
Folks, this Sunday we're going to be going through Al Murick, space opera novel written by Robert E. Howard, adapted by Roy Thomas and Tim Conrad. It's a great piece of work.
Star Wars.
Yep.
Not Star Wars.
It's a lot more John Carter than Star Wars here. So make sure you stop by. It was originally published by Dark Horse. It was a project I think Roy had originally started with Marvel, and they moved it over to Dark Horse to print it because Marvel had the Howard contract at that point. So stop by Sunday Funnies, and we're going to look through that. Stop by next Friday morning. I'm not quite sure what we're going to look at, but we'll look at something great. So make sure you swing by then. If you have any suggestions of stuff that you want us to look through, feel free to drop us a line in the chat. Go through and take a look at our archive over at the Indie Comics Network, the Randy Zimmerman YouTube channel, and the Comic Book Black Belt YouTube channel. There's a lot of great comics out there that we've been showing off and talk about, just like this week. We deeply appreciate you being here this morning. And we are here every Friday morning, 5 a.m.
I don't appreciate you at all.
Pardon who?
I was saying that's Randy speaking. I don't appreciate you at all.
Oh, there you go. Rex doesn't care for you at all.
No. No, the chat knows I love him.
Rex, tell people how they can find you.
Oh gosh, on YouTube daily. Over there, got a project over on Fund My Comic. Over on Instagram under Devil Flyer. Facebook under Rex Christian. I'm on the X, on the Twitter, and that's about it.
I got to try to get on that Twitter more often.
Yeah, you do. Yep.
Folks, I've been your host, Randy Zimmerman. We deeply appreciate you being here. We love everybody that watches us. We know the majority of our viewership is after the fact. We deeply appreciate you. You appreciate you being there. Make sure you hit that like button, the love button if you have it on your platform. Make sure you leave a note and let us know what we're doing. If there's anything that you want us to take a look at, we would love to do that for you.
Look at that wonderful green screen and lighting behind Randy. He's professional.
Yeah, very professional.
And that sexy spinner rack. Wow.
There you are. That's why I have it there. It's the sexiest thing on that.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Not afraid to admit it. Here we go. Boom. There we are.
Man, look at that.
Crime Does Not Pay. Bomba.
You, man, he's got the
Spy Man.
Yeah.
Spy Man.
Yeah. Now I can tell you that's Harvey, and that's Jim Steranko's first comic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jigsaw.
But came out about 3 issues. Yeah. Jigsaw's still. Oh, you should pull one of those out. Pull Jigsaw out. Come on.
We had that. Oh no, we got to go. Okay. It's time for these boot heels to be wandering.
Got it, Randy.
Yep.
You tease.
Gotta run. Sometimes we've gone through the spiral rack before and pulled out books and
but I didn't see it. I guess I got to go back and watch that episode.
Go back go back and watch the archives. There you are.
Okay.
Folks, thanks again. Remember, hate ain't creating. There's way too much negativity out there. If you love this business, if you love being in this business, if comics didn't break you, go out there and tell folks how great this industry is, how much fun it is to read stories of grand depth that are words and pictures put together. And there's so much great material out there. There's no way we're ever going to cover it all. It's just phenomenal work. Also, get a chance. Aerocomics.store. You can catch some of my stuff over there. And if you go to fundmycomic.com right now and take a look at the Shadow Kingdom, it's a Robert E. Howard story, classic story that I was fortunate enough to be able to break down and adapt into a comic script that Mr. Russ Leach went through and did the artwork on. It's an absolutely beautiful product, and it's so close to being completed. They're just waiting on my final afterward write-up, and just about the entire print file's done and ready to go. We're so ecstatic over this project. I can't recommend it to you enough. Please go over to Fund My Comic and take a look. Here's a little spot for that right here. In the time before Atlantis sank and the lands of the world were savage and untamed, one man would claim his destiny. Leaving his Atlantean tribe behind and throwing off the shackles of Lemurian bondage, he sailed the seas as a pirate captain before seizing his place as a king. And now that he has the throne, how long will he be able to keep it? This is the Shadow Kingdom, the classic sword and sorcery tale by Robert E. Howard, adapted by Randy Zimmerman, with artwork by Russ Leach. Available now at fundmycomic.com. It's a faithful adaptation of the story, folks. We kept as much of his prose in there as we could, but it's literally show, don't tell. And Russ really knocked it out of the park with some phenomenal artwork. So go over there to Fund My Comic. Take a look at that now. Or as soon as you can, please buy it. And we're about 50% to our goal. It's looking really good. Can't recommend it to you enough.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Really proud of that work. I lettered it, went real smooth, except for a couple of places. And can't talk about it enough. So folks, go over there. Fundmycomic.com, Shadow Kingdom, Aerocomics.store. Look for Rex. Go over there for Devil Flyer as well. Fundmycomic.com. Take a look at that campaign as well. Thanks again for being here, folks. Deeply appreciate you. We're going to go out with a little bumper too. It's looking. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good day. Any last words, Rex? Buy alternative and independent comics, especially ours.
Absolutely. Keep collecting.
There we are. Take care, folks.
Holy shit. That is the craziest thing I have ever seen. And I'm Dennis Quaid, and Dennis Quaid has seen some shit.
What was that? This is not a charade. We need total concentration. Now, once again, this time, with the...
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Can't nobody tell me nothing.
How dare you?
Get off my lawn.
Joke's on you, bitch. I love this shit.
Taste the biscuit, taste the goodness of the biscuit. Taste the honey sauce, Taste the goodness of the biscuit with the honey sauce.